Welcome back to the channel's Super Academico and Blue Eye Patch Gamer. Let us keep the reading of my book Clueders, Meire Pop Beyond the Cloud, available on Amazon. In this part, we will keep the reading of the Chapter 8, Clueders Games, Beyond the Cloud. Don't forget to subscribe to both channels and like and share the video. Let's go! Note: I wondered at that moment if it was possible that the fleeting passions of a teenager, at the time somewhat insecure as well as the appearance itself, may have been the trigger of so many extraordinary things. Maybe at the end of the day, I just wanted to tell myself that I was already pretty as well as intelligent and that I would stay even longer, just needed a little push. I think we all need to hear our messages from our future selves. Just open up. Well, my friends, in the end, everyone knows that the brown are better than the pale. I laughed with Vinny, but I shouted, but in the end Bella will stay with the vampire. Both Leandro and Marcos smiled with disdain for Mayo. You still can't tell, Meire. It only had 2 movies. Yeah, but I've read all 4 books. And Bella stays with Edward. And also, no need to tell, babe. I'd rather watch it unfold in the movies. That's the difference from a blogger to a YouTuber, very clear, said Leandro scornfully of Mayo. It may be, but the YouTuber has 10 times more followers than the blogger, Marcos reported without showing any visible emotion.
And why is that?
I said with a crooked smile. That's because the young people of today do not read. The voice that said the phrase came from the door, appearing from the shadows of the corridor to the illuminated interior. It was Professor Mello. Uncle Mello, I didn't hear the bell, Marcos said, getting up to greet the guest. I parked in the back street, and when I was knocking on the back door, the maid saw me and opened it earlier. Of course, you are always welcome. We all rose to greet him. Leandro was the first.
Teacher, how are you?
Well, Leandro. My dear Meire Pop. It seems like you finally avoided another tragic flaw and brought us to the center of the action, didn't you? Hi, Professor Mello. I'm sorry I seemed harsh the other day. Thank you for accepting the invitation. Well, it's all my pleasure to be involved in something so innovative and with such bright young people. You, of course, are the celebrity of the cloud in person. Vinny Mayo, the YouTuber. Thank you, Professor, but you're no John Doe on the internet. Actually, you are one of the pioneers of the Clueder culture. It's a pleasure to meet you. The apparent respectability of the two seemed to conceal some sort of contained irony. On the part of Mello, it seemed evident that he despised the new audiovisual languages of the internet, and Vinny represented one of the exponents of this new language. From Mayo, what it seemed was that in an ironic way he wanted to call the teacher old and outdated, but in a way that sounded complimentary. It would be quite typical of him, as in many of his videos. Note: if this perception of mine was correct, only time would tell. To this day, I still don't know. Marcos invited us to sit down again. Some drinks and snacks were served by the maid. And then we continue. Professor, what can you tell us about neurointernet? I asked straight. Well, as you may have researched, it all started when a group of researchers and interested people began to wonder, what would it be like if the internet could work directly through people's brains one day? Kind of like the Matrix, isn't it, teacher? Vinny asked. Well, not so invasive, but the essence is the same. There would be a parallel between the connections by bits of the internet and the connections by neurons in our brains. From that projecting for future from the level of convergence between man and machine, we imagined that neurointernet would eventually appear. And on what level is it now? Asked Leandro. Well, he seemed reticent, as if he was hiding something, but at the same time he smiled in satisfaction. What is it, Uncle Mello? Marcos asked, interested. I looked deeply at him, who was also looking at me, I guess knowing what I was thinking.
I said,
I think Professor Mello can't reveal everything he knows, people. The boys looked at me and then at Mello. You're right, Meire. Things are up to speed, but all at the prototype level. Since I still have a lot of contacts with the people who develop the technologies, I am one of the consultants about visuals and interfaces. Everything works in network. And why can't you speak more, Uncle Mello? Well, Marcos, as an authorized consultant, I need to sign a confidentiality agreement. If I reveal some information and it leaks, I may lose the status of a consultant and still be sued. Oh, that's a bummer, Vinny said. I noticed a certain frustration in Mello's face. He was enjoying all that attention, but the contractual obligation was still making him hesitate. I tried to deflect the subject to reassure him and also to keep him from feeling pressured. Professor, speaking hypothetically, would it be possible for neurointernet to become a network of communication between different time dimensions? He wrinkled his wrinkled forehead and was skeptical with the question. Why do I wonder the question? After all, much of what I have expressed in my blog reflects this doubt, even if it's something inserted between the lines of movies and books reviews. Yeah, I know, Meire, but I couldn't expect anything so direct. The neurointernet was conceived and has been developed as an overcoming of existing interfaces today. Hence, to imagine that the contents of the same can travel in time is a leap and so much towards science fiction. You see, Meire, as I told you, science fiction, Marcos said, with excessive confidence by the presence of his Uncle Mello. Okay, Marcos, and how to explain your dreams? Dreams? Asked the professor, intrigued. Marcos, and I looked apprehensively at him. Well, Uncle Mello, I've had some strange dreams from last year, all looking the same, but with different contents. And how are these dreams, Marcos? Usually we're sitting in some room. What do you mean we are? It's just that I had some of those too, Professor. I said. Are you having the same dreams? More or less. In this room, there is always some screen, and in it begins to load a video in the YouTube style, and there the message appears. I completed. And how are these messages? At first it was inaccurate, the identity of the person on the screen, but then we saw that it was myself, only older. Yes, Uncle Mello, the messages always gave some kind of suggestion of action that we should take. Apparently, even my meeting with her, and then her meeting with Leandro were predicted or influenced by the messages. I know, and what else? Well, something very present was the orientation for me to start writing about an oppressive system acting on us young people, in which we are forced to study hard, so that in the future we will only work for nothing, or even with little prospect of work, even with so much effort in the studies. Servants of an oppressor system? How interesting, my young people. Professor, tell us what you really think of that. In your classes, this way of getting answers on our own is cool, but here we are really trying to find an ally. Leandro looked quickly at me, as if scolding himself. To solve our questions. Leandro, my dear, being a teacher is already part of me, and I will hardly have another way to act, but I will try to help you as much as I can. We all remained silent in anticipation of what he would say next.
I hope you have enjoyed this reading. Continuing to support the channels Super Academico and Blue Eye Patch Gamer. Subscribe, like and share the video. Bye bye.